No free nation should need to guard its judges with resolutions and bar votes. Yet in February 2026, in San Antonio, the American Bar Association gathered in solemn session and passed Resolution 200, a formal declaration against threats and intimidation of federal judges. Picture rows of delegates rising one by one, their roll call echoing through the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center. Why must a republic famous for its laws take a vote to keep those laws safe? The answer, it seems, lies not only in darkness without, but also in doubt within. At that meeting, speakers recounted stories too grave for a free people. Judges stalked, families harried, rulings mocked by officers sworn to uphold them. Chief Justice John Roberts, in his 2024 report, had warned that threats were rising faster than many chose to admit. Can a nation's conscience sleep when its judges live under guard? It is this: law can enforce obedience, but only honor can secure respect. A judge may wear a robe woven of authority, yet its true fabric is public trust. Article 3 gave judges life tenure during good behavior, not to raise them above the people, but to free them from fear of the powerful. Can law defend itself when reverence for it has grown thin? To answer, we must look not to today's quarrels, but to our nation's oldest tests. Picture 1832, Andrew Jackson in the White House, defying Chief Justice Marshall's ruling with a shrug. "Let him enforce it," the people said. A generation later, another crisis came. President Franklin Roosevelt, 1937, sits in the Oval Office beside a stack of papers, the plan to add 6 new justices for everyone past the age of 70. A portrait of George Washington looks down as Roosevelt pauses his pen. Our lawmakers then stepped back from the brink, and the court's integrity was spared. History does not repeat, but it rhymes in warning. From those moments until now, the story is the same. Every time power presses on the bench, the people must choose which will stand, law or loyalty to men. The founders called it the balance wheel of the Constitution. Remove it, and the whole machine runs hot and breaks. But if the balance holds, dissent can be peaceful and change can be just. Imagine a courtroom in Baltimore, where a federal judge listens as a citizen challenges the government itself. It is a quiet place, no banners, no cheers, only the voice of law seeking right. That stillness is strength, not weakness. For the Constitution relies not on force, but on men and women keeping faith with their oaths. When that faith fails, no armed guard can save it. The line between lawful speech and threatening power must be drawn bright and clear. To criticize is your right. To intimidate is the seed of tyranny. We forget that the power to secure the courts belongs first to the citizen, not the sheriff. The duty is moral before it is legal. A people who allow their anger to rule will soon have no law left to obey. I learned as much long ago when quarrels among states and courts threatened the Union. The question was never who was right, but whether law still mattered. Law is the crossroads where passion must yield. Without that yielding, order has no path. Picture an old ledger in the National Archives, its pages brittle but clear. There you find the pen strokes that established judicial independence before the ink had dried on the Constitution. They argued for days in Philadelphia and finally gave judges their tenure, not to elevate them beyond critique, but to shield them from reprisal. That compromise did not create a priesthood. It created a duty to decide without favor. Look to Lexington, Kentucky, where a state judge once sat as 2 armed men entered his courtroom to force him from the bench. It was 1859. Citizens, not soldiers, escorted the men out. No riot, no rage, only a community rising to say that justice would not be driven out by fear. That lesson is as fresh as morning dew. Every generation must teach it again, or else learn it the hard way. In 1974, during the Watergate crisis, the nation waited for the court to speak. Picture the Supreme Court chamber on July 24th, when Chief Justice Burger read the opinion ordering the release of the tapes. No shouts, no jeers, only breath held. A ruling against power itself was obeyed within hours. That obedience was not fear, it was faith in the system that restrains all. Had that faith failed, the country might not have found its way back. The lesson is not born of law books, It is born of character, and character must be trained by example. In my own day, when mobs sought to silence opinion by stone and by rope, we learned that law is the only thing standing between anger and anarchy. The founders built walls of separation not to protect officials from the people, but to protect the people from vengeance, disguised as justice. Every time fear rules, law flees. Every time reason rules, liberty lives. So when I hear that judges now receive threats for doing their duty, I do not ask which party they belong to. I ask which principle is at risk. For if violence or fear decides cases, the Constitution itself has already lost its voice. A court that judges under threat is not a court, it is a hostage. And a nation that allows its judges to live in fear has already dimmed its own lamp of reason. Picture the marble front of the Supreme Court at night, floodlights washing across the words, "Equal justice under law." Those lights shine for every citizen, but someone must pay the bill. The price is vigilance, quiet, steady, and personal. Imagine now a small courthouse in Cheyenne, Wyoming, winter snow drifting past the flag. Inside, a judge hears two ranchers quarreling over a fence line. The law of fences is small, yet it teaches the same rule as the law of presidents. Fairness must not hinge upon power. When citizens see that even the humble may stand equal before the law, they are less tempted to ruin it in the name of hate. Picture that dinner table somewhere in St. Louis. A father puts down the paper that scorns a judge for an unpopular ruling, and his daughter asks, "But isn't he supposed to follow the law?" How that father answers may decide the future more than any court opinion that day. That is how republics are won or lost, not by bombardment, but by conversation. Look again upon San Antonio. After the vote for Resolution 200, a delegate from Vermont rose and said quietly, "Let us be remembered not for protest, but for protection." Few heard it amid the bustle, but those words captured the unseen heart of the meeting. They understood that protecting the courts protects the citizen's own shelter, even when verdicts sting. Justice that cannot wound ego cannot cure evil. The spirit of judgment without intimidation must live first within the heart. A people that draw their weapons of words too quickly will soon find all dialogue ends in force. Yet, when we step back and consider before speaking, we make room again for reason, the very air the Constitution breathes. Perhaps that is why Chief Justice Roberts called in his report for quiet courage. Quiet courage means doing what law and honesty demand, even when applause is absent. So I say to you, the next time an unpopular ruling floods your screen, pause. Wait long enough to read. Think long enough to feel. Remember that the integrity of the law might be the last guard between your own rights and the wrath of those stronger than you. That pause may seem small, but nations are preserved by such small pauses. I will tell you plainly. The Republic has faced greater storms than this. It endured rebellion, corruption, even the temptation of despotism. And yet liberty found its way back, because conscience was not wholly lost. The same test stands before you now. Will you steady your heart before judging others? Will you defend the impartial judge as you would defend your own right to be heard fairly? Will you guard justice even when it rules against your desire? For only then will the promise of equal law live beyond parchment and words. And in that living spirit, despite all doubt, the truth remains. The Republic can be saved. When the moment comes, will you choose noise or justice?